Okay. Welcome to Ogden Valley Planning Commission meeting, April 7th, 2026 at Huntsville Town Hall Council Chambers. I'm the Vice Chair, Commissioner Dean, and I'm taking the place of Commissioner Arbogast, who is away this week. And with me, we have Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Blickley, and Commissioner Morgan. So we have our forum. Let's start, and we also have our IT director and volunteer reporter. Let's start with pledge allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America is to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And we'll take a moment of silence. Okay, welcome, public here in the chambers with us and those online. We will begin our regular business with approval of the minutes. We have three. Approval of minutes from the three meetings. We have, I'm going to break them up because there are some comments and corrections, I think. Starting with March 10th. I have a correction to the spelling of my name. And I have correction to a statement that was made on page 2 regarding the form-based zoning. It says it was discussed to bring forward form-based zoning at this time, and I believe it should state it was discussed not to bring forth form-based zoning at this time. Are there any other corrections to March 10th?
I did some. I don't know if it's that one or not, and I'm logging in. The voting numbers were incorrect, like it says 5 yeses and 1 no.
No, that's okay.
So I'm trying to get,
But I can give you my copy. Oops.
I don't remember if it was that, just at all. Oh, no, it was on the next step. So I didn't have any corrections. Commissioner Schaefer had no corrections to this one.
Okay, fine, I'm gonna have a motion.
Commissioner Blakely will motion to accept March 10, is it?
Yes,
March 10 meeting minutes
was the approved.
with the approved with changes,
Commissioner Schaefer will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes on March 10th, and then we have March 17th. Any corrections? I wasn't there, so I had to.
That's the one Commissioner Schaefer said there's, the voting numbers are like 5 to 0, like 5 yays and 0 nays, and then 1 absent. And since there's 7 of us, that should be 6 and 0 on all of those.
Okay. Okay. Any other corrections? Motion?
Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to approve the March 17th minutes with the recommended changes.
Commissioner Blakely seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and thank you, that motion passes. So March 24th, my name is spelled wrong again. And I don't have any other for that.
Commissioner Schaefer saying changes for the voting numbers, they're incorrect. It says 5-0 and 1 absent. You should see 6-0 and 1 absent.
Motion. All right, Commissioner Morgan moves to. Did you find your head? Was it again? Or you had change?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I thought we were
Voting.
yeah.
Quick motion.
Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to approve the March 24th meeting minutes with the recommended changes.
Commissioner Blakely
Those
seconds.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. I don't know if we have our staff planner on Zoom?
You did, John.
Okay, great. Welcome, Brian. We have first on our agenda, a review and discussion of the shoreline zone. So if who can control the screen, but pull that up if we need to review it. If Brian, you want to navigate through that and share your screen, I'll just do it.
Brian, I don't know if you know that you're muted, so we just don't hear you in case you don't know that.
Shut that and music. Check.
Maybe he stepped away for a moment, he's muted up and so.
Okay. Are you, Kathy, able to pull up the ordinance?
Yeah, let's see. And what's the document called, Angelo?
It is the shoreline zone. It's under PC draft ordinances, should be.
The top one.
It's shoreline Tyson Jim McBride,
Yes.
and you are the working chapter right now, or the?
Yes, the working
Yes.
chapter, please. So Fred and Jim, you both have worked on this. Do you? Are you
Yeah,
ready to speak
Jim.
to it?
Jim, myself and Tyson worked on it. Call it or anything stands out on this one that we need to highlight maybe. So I don't know if you can remember Jim, but otherwise I'd say let's just, move through it, see if anybody has any questions. I can't seem to get it pulled up on my slow connection here.
We can just kind of go down the lines here.
Are you hooked on this Wi-Fi sometimes?
Yeah, Liberty, right?
No, it's
Huntsville.
Huntsville, yes.
Huntsville, yes.
Yeah, I make the same mistake.
Huntsville, yes. And the password is,
It's on that paper, Angelo.
oh,
And Brian, we joined us when did we go together?
Yeah, if he wants to navigate through the document. Welcome to.
Brian, are you with us now?
I think I am with you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about the delay.
They want to go through the shoreline document, do you want to go through it with them on your screen, Brian, or do you want to just leave it up right here on my screen?
Well, for now, let's just leave it up on your screen if that's okay.
Okay.
I didn't really have any questions or comments about any of this when I perused through it.
Not sure, okay. Fred, is there anything you want to add beyond what?
can you just scroll down? I don't know.
You guys do have a red line right here on
Yeah, protection and conservation, I don't think we made many changes to this at all.
Um,
Then there's a table of permitted and, not permitted things.
I had a comment down on page 8 under vegetation retention, and this kind of goes across the board. For all the ordinances, when we use language such as encourage or promote or wishful thinking that this will happen, I guess. How do we quantify, how do we use better language to quantify and subjectively evaluate applications based on these terms? And if we can't, is there a better term to use? That's a question for Ryan.
Well, I'm sorry.
Uh,
That's an excellent question. Uh, in terms of retention or restoration of vegetation, there are requirements that can be put in place to reseed using a mix of native grasses, um, minimizing soil disturbance. That's kind of that is going to kind of be on a case by case basis. I mean, it depends on the type of activity that's going to be done. If you're just going to be building a house, you can require that the footprint of the house plus a certain amount of square footage be the only disturbances. But if you're doing something else on the property,
Yeah, and then the following one with grade drainage talks about reasonable measures to direct runoff to stable grounds. I think we'd want to be really specific with drainage as well.
yeah, and that one's going to be challenging too, because especially if there are agricultural operations going on, um, it's very hard for the community to quantify everything in its ordinances, because then you're also um, I mean, you are creating certain measurable goals that must be met, but then you can also inadvertently exclude other measures that the property owner could be taking that um, again may be reasonable, especially reasonable to a property owner who only wants to spend a certain amount of money. Um, but you're restricting innovative responses simply because they may not be specifically called out or specifically detailed within the existing ordinance. Um, for example, if we were allowing, but we talk a lot in the agriculture zone about certain reasonable irrigation practices and reasonable or commonly accepted farming practices. We don't detail what the farmer does or does not do on their property. We give them a lot of flexibility there because certain controls can have unintended consequences in terms of expense or effort that needs to be done and can lead to landowners just not doing necessary work because there are too many restrictions, too many onerous requirements for them to do. And so if we want to allow for a certain type of activity, we also have to allow for a certain amount of flexibility in how that is maintained. There are under the land use table, where we have special requirements, we can include some detail as to what we feel reasonable activities are.
Sorry, Brian, I made a well technical issue with the file, if something was inadvertently deleted as we were talking. So
Yeah, something changed.
hit Command Z, might be able to undo.
Command D,
Command Z,
B,
Z,
Z.
should undo. Is that correct, Kathy? If you want to undo something, just Command Z.
Yeah, or press Windows Control Z.
With, I have an Apple though.
Command Z them.
Sorry, what is that?
Command Z if it's Apple.
Z.
Z is in zebra.
So the little squiggly and then Z. Z. Just keep renewing until. Okay, while we sort that out, sorry, you can continue. I think,
See this note from Tyson, he's trying to get in or at least open the door, but then he's not able to.
Okay.
So,
is there a way, I understand what you're saying with wanting to build in flexibility, but can we be precise about what it is we're trying to avoid? You know, can we say, you know, with runoff, for instance, there can be no passage of runoff at a certain point. For impacts, I mean, this is shoreline, so we're trying to minimize impacts to the reservoir.
Sure, yeah, you know, specifying that's a good approach, specifying the types of impacts that we're trying to avoid. So, you know, if we're looking at reducing flood damage or, you know, reducing erosion, maintaining natural vegetation. Those are certainly elements that we can.
Yeah, I think that would just be my suggestions, if we could place some, where we're able to place specific guidance, you know, what our limits are in the document, I think that would be helpful in your evaluating applications, right?
Sure.
And then another comment about, there's something about the animal density, and I think we sort of landed on something with the FV3 in prior meetings. It makes sense to me to just apply that here as well, unless there's some strong reason not to.
The same 2 animal units per acre.
That would be my.
Yes.
that's what we agree.
Mhm.
And then I don't see anything about maximum lot area coverage, and there was something in the architectural landscape, but I'm not finding it, to see if it applies, if it's called out specifically in the landscape ordinance, or if we need to specify it in this zone.
Under lot.
Maximum.
Maximum lot area coverage of impermeable surfaces or something, I think that was how it was worded. In the landscape ordinance, but I'm not finding it.
So the landscaping design standards only really apply to business and commercial and high density residential projects. They don't really apply to other uses.
So then we should probably call that out specifically then.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. What line are you looking at?
Let's see. We had some things gone missing, so I'm not finding it.
You were looking for that. There was a paragraph here for view sheds that just disappeared.
Yeah, I think we had some things. Kathy, can you resurrect, recycle, from prior, from earlier?
Is that under watershed protection standards?
Yeah, but it was a separate title, and we did spend some time on that in terms of, we could call that kind of the view shed for,
Mm-hmm.
and we put that maximum height of 25 feet for buildings.
So while they're pulling that up with the discussions we're having today and what we're asking of you, Brian, do we feel that we could vote to move this forward with some of that precise language added, or should we, or do you want to bring this back to us?
Well, if you know what you want in there, and I apologize for I've missed a little bit of the conversation, but if you've got, I mean, if you've got some notes in here, I'm happy to incorporate them.
Okay.
Well,
So there's
I mean, let's see.
comments that have been added inside, so
Yeah,
well, if we put it back in your court to clean up and incorporate these comments.
okay, so I found your comment about maximum lot area coverage. Is that regarding building footprints?
Impermeable, any including building, if that's something that we should consider. I don't have a number off the top.
Consider adding a percent maximum lot area coverage, meaning
Like a 40%
of the whole,
of the site,
whole
yeah.
parcel.
I don't, yeah, I'm not. I don't have anything off the top, but I'm more concerned about just the language piece, so if we
Um,
drop.
I mean, for example, a lot of communities they will restrict that to 25 to 35%. Or more, we have some what we call buildable area requirements for the hillside. Language that's been bounced around.
And that may
And
go
especially on slopes, that tends to get but yeah, if you're looking for impervious surfaces, I mean, what do you think about 25 to 35%?
I mean, it's 5 acre minimum, so it's still quite a large area.
Yeah.
It's still on 25%.
So I'll clean up my notes, consider it, 25% maximum impermeable lot area coverage.
There's a file from 50 minutes ago, so before you guys all touched it, but in order to restore it, you guys all have to leave the file.
Okay, I will get out. Everybody get
Same.
out.
I'm out.
Well,
I'm out.
You can go back and it should be from 50 minutes ago.
immediately changing to reviewing.
Alright, I can sure. Okay, so
Yeah, it's still going, I don't know what happened to that.
so in yours.
And the wording, it's watershed protection standards.
Yeah, there was like 3 other paragraphs
Right.
below that.
It's still missing, maybe we need to go yesterday.
Everybody get out?
Oh, yeah.
Brian, are you out of the document?
Yes, I am.
Kathy, can you see if is Tyson in the document?
It just shows Brian's document.
Okay.
Do you want me back out?
Yeah, I have to go back out. It's still not.
Okay, sorry.
You need to override it. Technical difficulty, stand by.
Dark side of the moon.
So Tyson is online.
He sent me a text that said he wasn't able to open the document, like 10 minutes ago. I haven't heard anything back.
You try again?
Yeah, let's try one more time, see if this one's a better copy for you guys, I still see that protection hand in there, so I'm hoping that this is. Not a better one, it still has their comments in the management.
No, shoot.
After that, the next one is from the end of March. Doesn't show anyone touched or changed the version between March and today.
Let's go to March.
So that title had the word view shed and where the building height was at 25 feet, but there were additional words. So.
Yeah, someone's in the bathroom.
There is someone in the document. So everyone exit.
Not even in the folder.
Alright, it's showing now, here is the one from the end of March.
All right, fingers crossed. Okay, it's there. Yay, thank you. Okay, so going back to comments, we talked about adding site design standards, site development standards to I'll just put a note or a comment, to limit impervious
Yeah.
there to 25% of lot area. And then in terms of the language piece we talked about, whether it's vegetation retention, grading and drainage, we'll just add a note to include specific language regarding prohibitions or how do you, not prohibitions, but minimum standards to be met.
Yeah.
That is quantifiable and objective. Environment development requirements where applicable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So erosion control, if they disturb more than half an acre, they're required to do a stormwater protection plan with the state Department of Environmental Quality anyway. That's a state requirement. Um, we will have to come up if we want to enforce anything on a smaller disturbance, we're going to have to come up with our own erosion control. We do require an excavation permit for any grading. Um, I'll have to talk to our engineer and see if we can come up with some standards on that will not get us, will get us going the direction that we want.
Okay. So I don't think I can make a motion as I'm hosting the meeting.
Right. Well, one thing, I noticed in the building height in the reservoir view shed, we have 25 feet maximum, and then in the table below, it says 30 feet.
I think 30 is consistent with other similar zones.
No, we had 25.
You don't want 25?
Yeah.
Okay, so then.
So should that down under, you see what I'm talking about, Brian, under, in the table, maximum main building height, 30 should go to 25, and maximum accessory building would stay at 25.
So that's going to be a one-story building. Anything under 30 feet, unless it's got a really, I mean, unless it's got a really deep basement and that shoreline, the water table is going to be high enough. They're not going to really do basements. Are you okay with that? I mean, minimum height, I don't know why they put in a minimum height, but minimum height is 1 story, maximum height would be 1 story. You're not going to get a 2-story building for under 30 feet. Actually, under 35 feet, it's going to be really tough.
So is 5 feet gonna make a difference between 1 story and 2 story?
No, 10 feet would. 30 to 25 feet is not going to make a difference. You're still going to be a 1-story building.
So 25 or 30 irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, our thoughts were just to not have big confrontations with the view of the lake going up there, right along the lake.
25 years.
So, so change that to 25 down in the table. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Get these dinner.
I kind of typed up for you guys and I didn't do enough, so I can't fix it for you. But over in relationship to other regulations, you have a space between the M and the O for Morgan.
Yeah.
So just pointing out.
Yeah, I think it would be great to move this forward if somebody.
Are you gonna make those two heads? I don't trust myself,
Okay. Let's see.
since I can't find the undo button, it's
Yeah, somebody, well, we
you see down in the table.
five, and what was the other?
Relationship to other regulations, F, you have a space between the N and the O.
Okay, Brian, if it's that. It's first.
Peter Dash Morgan Health Department.
Yeah. It's the my version.
Okay. So, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Any changes in practice?
Yes, I think you could do it in the motion. And then. Yeah, there's.
We're gonna. Those were the changes. you-
Yeah. So we could approve it with these changes to then move forward for public comment, if we need a comment. But somebody needs to make this motion besides me.
So you guys read those, you make the motion, look at those changes.
I, Commissioner Morgan, propose that we move, chapter 104-10 shoreline zone S1 forward with the 4 proposed changes, FV3 animal units, the 25-foot height, maximum for building height, quantifiable objective language regarding requirements, and limit impervious area to 25% for lot area.
Commissioner Blickley will second.
This discussion. So this is moving forward for public review and comments then with these changes. All those in favor?
Alright.
Okay, motion passes.
Did you get Tyson online too?
I'm gonna leave it on the same.
Alright.
Sure.
Next to that.
Okay, next item is review discussion of open space zone. That was also, so,
Jim, Lisa, and I, yeah, there's a couple things that we're pointing out on that.
do you want to take that or?
Yeah, let me, let me just get the one. So this is open space zone 01, which is chapter 104-26. Some of our discussion, originally we were going to delete out golf courses from this open space. But after some discussion, given that Wolf Creek Golf Course is in the 01 zoning, we felt that needs to stay in there. Otherwise, they may say they want to reach, get different zoning, residential or something, and change the use of the golf course because the definition changed. So we felt like that needed to stay in. The golf courses, that is. There was some discussion about private parks, which we have taken out. Feeling like we don't want to see the remaining undeveloped open spaces, which are if you look at Geo Gizmo, you'll see them to the north of or the east, I guess, of the RE 15, RE 20 zones there by the golf course, by Wolf Creek Golf Course. And then went over by Nordic as well, pretty far up the hill. So we would, we felt like public parks would be, reasonable, but a private park or things could be, built and put into those areas would be undesirable for what we have in our general plan. So that was taken out, and Tyson had a nice kind of explanation text, which would be L under that section 104-26-2 that just really explained the intent of the this particular zone. So I wanted to highlight those two. I don't know, anything else, Jim, that we should mention?
No, I don't think so. We did talk quite a bit about the accessory building, but I think we resolved that and don't get mired down in that again, but
the purpose and intent, I think, you should read that and just make sure everybody's good with that. And we spent some time talking about A under 104-26-2 as well. Which, as Jim mentioned, was the accessory building incidental to the use of the main building.
It was like Brian's cleaned that language up a little bit.
Yeah, some of that's kind of redundant. We don't need a main building as a permitted use. We're already allowing certain structures. So so I hope that helps.
As I see it, then you're recommending the only permitted use change then is from private park to be non-permitted. And then adding the conservation easement language. Which sounds great to me. Is public park something that should be conditionally reviewed or just strictly permitted?
I mean, a public park is probably going to end up what the likelihood of a public park would either be the city purchasing land within or land that is zoned open space through a development, or a developer within a larger project, they would designate a portion of the property to be open space, and then they would gift the land to the city for a public park. A lot of times developers and communities will negotiate that sort of a gifting of land or facilities for a public park instead of setting up a privately owned playground or recreation facility within the larger development. Just to provide a public service, and honestly, it relieves the homeowners association of a burden of maintenance that often gets neglected or if nothing else, it gets fought over a lot.
So I mean, there might be conditions with noise and lights and operational hours, things like that.
Well, I mean, if it's a city park, then yeah, you're going to set your own park rules. So
I thought we had words in there, right about the lighting.
There's a.
There's a comment that Lisa put in about the lighting has to be in accordance with the outdoor lighting limits.
Everything in general, right?
Yeah,
That's 110, chapter 1.
I think.
Is that the lighting? No.
But lighting applies valley-wide, right? So I don't know that it needs to be specifically called out, but.
Yeah, that was Lisa's comment. She put it as a comment, all lighting must be in accordance with the outdoor lighting ordinance. Dark sky ordinance, lights may not be on before 6:30. And must be out by close of business for 10 PM, whichever comes earlier.
Right, does anybody want to make a motion about this one?
Do we want to include that though?
Sure.
yeah, we could throw in a
Okay, so the motion would be to pass open space zone 1 chapter, which is chapter 104-26, to include our edits as we show, and the lighting ordinance reference, which is in Lisa's last comment. Brian's adding that in as we speak.
awesome.
And seconded by Commissioner Morgan, and discussion? Thoughts? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes to move open space on to public review and comment. Moving right along, now we've got a big long section from Brian with several of the design standards. Review, so take it away, Brian.
oh yeah. All right, let's see. Let's start with number 2, architectural, landscape, and screening design standards. Again, as a reminder, these really only apply to multifamily, commercial, and light industrial properties. They don't apply to single family development. And yeah, per Terry's comment, we could clarify that in the title. Or at least it needs to be in the purpose and intent and not further down the document.
I'll just talk through some of the comments. On page 2, there was a comment about there's industrial and manufacturing uses listed. We don't have industrial, so just kind of redlined that out. We just have manufacturing uses, and it's out those that don't apply. There's discussion about color, and so I have a question when it comes to these standards. Where we have X'd out the natural muted earth tones, is that not allowed? Like at what point, can there be any say in design of colors?
You can, for this type of stuff, you can regulate colors if you want.
And then it talks about building materials shall avoid highly reflective or fluorescent colors. I wondered if there's a better, bright colors, fluorescent. Not sure what. Yeah, how we would monitor color, open to suggestions.
Um,
And then below we had neutral earth tone, natural material finishes or traditional agricultural building colors shall be permitted. So does that basically say everything we want to say? Is it necessary?
no, that I think that's a little too ambiguous. If we want to, if you want, yeah, what would be some what would be good language on how to?
I don't mind keeping the predominantly natural mixed earth tones in.
I mean, yeah, context sensitive, muted earth tones that blend with the landscape with the restriction of I would say bright or high contrast instead of fluorescent.
Right.
If you want to come up with a specific color palette, you can. Honestly, I don't think we really have the time to put into it yet, but that might be something to consider in the future. Reflectivity, high gloss finishes, you may want to prohibit. So, say we're looking at, muted matte finishes.
What would be some of the offensive things that could be identified that might make it?
There's all kinds of offensive colors out there when you look at a color deck. So yeah, if you think we can maintain this language, the predominantly, obviously accents, can be accents, but it's fine to me to keep this predominantly natural in there.
That's not the one I want.
And then
Intensity. Yeah.
there's a question of steel siding. I don't know why we wouldn't allow steel siding. It is durable and fire resistant, so. Is that a hooray out there?
Yeah.
And my understanding with vinyl, the reason why it's not great other than durability is that when it does melt, it releases some pretty toxic fumes, so it could harm residents, neighbors, firefighters, so I'm fine excluding that as material. And then what else do we have?
There are comments here about homes, but this isn't about homes, this is about,
It is, well, there's multi-family homes.
okay.
And so then we go down to the plantings and I posted some links to USU extension. I don't know if Brian, you and staff could come up with an appropriate list of street trees that would drive the valley and not damage sidewalks and that sort of thing. But
Yeah, we can find some good tree examples that do well in this climate. And
Let's. Any others jump out at you all? Looking through.
Well, on the general landscaping, Brian, what do you think of what we have there?
I mean, I like under minimum landscaped area. it's good. I will say that areas in active agricultural use, I think we can remove that sentence because this isn't intended for agricultural properties. We're not requiring landscaping. Um, this is for just commercial and industrial areas, and multifamily.
That sentence, so the first one, site shall have a minimum of 20% of the developed portion of the land of the site landscaped. And if the site is in the Ogden Valley planning area, a minimum
Yeah.
of 70% of the landscaping shall be living plant materials. So that means 70% of the 20%.
Correct.
And you just struck out Ogden Valley planning area.
Yeah, I just struck that out because that's a that I don't know that that's from the old Weber County because the whole city is the Ogden Valley planning area, right? That's
Okay,
our
yeah.
planning area anyway. So I will say that a 70% living plant material coverage might be a little high. It's a little high maintenance.
Yeah.
Um,
What, does
you
that
know,
include grass?
it could, yeah, it may end up more turf grass than bushes and trees, but but that was, I mean, it's actually down from the original county 80%. And there was the maximum turf grass area that was added.
What about xeriscape?
I don't know.
Brian?
Xeriscaping could be, we could encourage that specifically. Sorry. Um,
Yeah, I think we should add that.
Yeah, I do too. But, doing that helps with the water situation too, for sure, people are.
let me
I'd like to,
see.
if you're ready, um, move this forward with just the discussion items and edits we've made here today. Is that- Major, county stuff. Anything else? No, Eric?
Good.
Let me just finish this.
So for example, some low water landscaping designs that we could require are plant selection. Like you said, we could come up with a list of plants to consider for that. Turf restrictions. There was a restriction on 50%. 50% of the landscaping could be grass. Um, and then another 20% could be vegetation, and then the rest could be mulch or gravel. We might want to change that where 70%, where we're requiring 70% be live vegetation. That's going to be a lot of trees and bushes.
Yeah, I think a plant list of what's approved for that would be. Cover us.
And I know there's a new turf grass that they've come out with that requires lot less water. We should have that in there.
Yeah, it's another USU development, that's pretty great.
Yeah. Are you familiar with that, Brian?
I'm familiar with a couple of different varieties. I don't know if I might not be thinking of the one that you are, but yeah, there are a couple of different mixes out there that are available that are very low water. They don't look as green as Kentucky turf grass, Kentucky bluegrass, but they do make a good solid turf mat that helps to control weeds and it gives, if you don't mow it every other week or every week, it can kind of give a little more shaggy, natural look.
Yeah. I'm just entering those notes, insert allowable turf grass, data, I guess, information,
Specification.
specification. Okay. All right, wait.
I have a question associated with the landscaping. What about irrigation recommendations? There are a lot of very efficient, sprinkler heads, that type of thing. Is there any requirement for that, or what do you think?
There is not currently a requirement on the type of irrigation system. Um, you could require. I mean, the thing is, most um, commercially available sprinkler systems are, pretty adaptable in terms of evaporation control. But really anything that isn't a drip irrigation system is going to be a relatively, I mean, there's going to be a lot of water loss, you know, and you can't do turf with the drip irrigation. Um,
Some irrigation systems that we could require that basically, follows weather patterns, so if it's raining,
Alright.
it turns off, and those are pretty inexpensive, and I don't think it'd be a problem.
There's wording that says watering systems shall be maintained in good operating condition to promote water conservation. So I would think that would have enough language there that somebody comes in for plan review on this, you could get it back if it's not.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Tyson did include,
Alright, we're an hour in, we got 10 more to do. Let's know that. How do you feel about this one with the comments that we've made today?
Good, I'm good.
I'm good.
Forward.
Okay, so we wanna move?
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm good, you do it.
Commissioner Morgan proposed that we move chapter 108-2 architectural landscape and screening design standards forward.
Commissioner Blickley seconds.
Those in favor?
Hi.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. I'd like to skip cluster subdivisions for today. I think that one's going to need a little bit more discussion and let Brian maybe kind of hammer out the others that we could potentially move forward, so.
yeah, thank you. That one is probably one that we can put off for a while since we won't be doing any new subdivisions for a little while. Let's talk about timeshares really quickly. That one should be relatively easy because there's honestly not a whole lot that we can do. The state of Utah is pretty clear that fractional ownership or timeshare properties cannot be regulated any differently than any other residential unit. So,
Is there anything you want to point out or highlight or we need to discuss?
got to get it open so I can see what I'm doing.
There's some comments out there. Jen has
Yeah, those were transition.
Chain.
I think that all applies to what he talked about with the legality of the
Mm.
fractional ownership. It's pretty short and sweet,
Yeah,
so,
I think we're good.
okay.
Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to move 108-6 timeshares forward for public comment.
Commissioner Blakely seconds.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay. Due to supplementary and qualifying regulations.
All right, this one
Mhm.
is also a little more. We've got our fencing requirements here. If you're building a home, the footprint of the home itself must be within the setback limits on the lot, but there are certain built-in architectural features such as cornices and cantilevers coming off of the main structure that are allowed to penetrate that setback, but we put restrictions on it. You know, for example, windowsills and lintels um, can only project 18 inches past the setback line. Cornices, eaves are 2 feet. Staircases and things are 5 feet for the front, 10 feet for the back, and 3 for the side. Porches, things like that. So, I mean, this is relatively standard stuff.
What page are those dimensions on?
That's page 2 under projections, 1087-2.
Not seeing those dimensions you just said.
It's in there. It says,
This running the first.
it's just not numbers, it's spelled out.
I have it up on the screen if that helps. I can only really project no further than 2 feet from that.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I think this sounds good. Any discussion? Or motion?
I'll make a motion. Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to move forward 108-7 supplementary and qualifying regulations forward for public comment.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes and we're on to parking and loading space, vehicle traffic and access regulations.
Parking standards primarily for commercial and multifamily.
But we have a question here, Greg.
One question, I noticed in the table of contents of 108-7-23, river and stream corridor setbacks dash western Weaver City, should that be deleted?
I don't see that. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, so they put in city, they meant they needed to delete Western Weaver to
Delete western Weaver, okay,
just be a cleanup thing.
all right. Okay, that's right.
We're on 108-8.
Parking and loading, Brian.
Yep, these are your parking standards. Requirements for parking for homes. Typically, it's a minimum of 2 off-street parking spaces. And you can have maybe 2 uncovered and 2 in a garage. We've got 2. Let's see, Tyson's made some changes here. Side by side parking spaces at a minimum. It sets the size of 9 feet by 20 feet. We've had complaints about parking on pathways, but
So you guys see the comments, Janice, and then a couple others that say this really needs to be rewritten.
Quite possibly, but probably not today.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know.
I think this would be one to revisit.
if Ron Gleason does have the comment about parking tied to bedrooms. That's not a and that's a good point. Especially, I don't know if you guys have seen the phenomenon, but at least for a while up in the Bear Lake Valley, they were getting applications to build these big 8 or 10 bedroom homes, that weren't actually homes. They turned up being short-term rental party houses, right? But because they applied as a single family development or a single family home, they were only required to have uh, uh, 2 off-street parking stalls, and so you end up with 10 rooms being let out to, you know, 3 or 4 families, and now they're parking 3 or 4 cars plus jet skis and a boat and, all kinds of things on the street because those weren't required by the city. Now that can also be managed just as a short-term rental issue, but it's not unreasonable.
Could we say something like minimum of two parking spaces per dwelling plus an additional parking space per every 2 additional bedrooms or something, or link it to?
Yeah, like for example, Cedar City requires 2 parking spaces for 1 to 2 bedrooms. Um, while units with 3 or more bedrooms require, 3 to 4 off-street parking. Now, if they've got a garage and if they've got, a 20-foot setback between the front of the garage and the property line at least, there's 4 cars right there.
Yeah, I think I'd be open to whatever reasonable guidelines you wanted to include on that. I agree.
When we get into multifamily, that's where, we start looking at a higher formula in terms of parking stalls per bedroom. But generally, for single detached family, the most common requirement is just 2 off-street parking spaces per dwelling unit, because and that can be in a carport, it can be in a driveway, it can be in a garage. But oftentimes, if they have a carport or garage, they also have driveway space that fits a car as well. So, and you can also require, it can be tandem parking, like 1 car in front of another. It doesn't have to be side by side. And that's kind of Tyson removed the side by side language in his recommendation for single family. Anyway,
Yeah, and I think whatever we come up with, which for that should be applied to 2 family, 3 family, 4 family, right? Because those could also be large units. So maybe the same standard as a minimum per dwelling, and then additional based on bedroom size.
yeah, yeah. So I can clean that up and specify that it's off street. Does that cover everything for parking spaces for dwellings?
I think so, yeah, I think you could insert that language for us. When we get down to the non-dwelling, I guess as I look at this list, it's not quite fully in sync with our list of permitted uses that we've been reviewing in the commercial zones, so we just need to make sure that what we're listing there has a parking designation in this ordinance.
Okay.
And
So maybe this can wait until we have those commercial uses figured out, just to make sure that we're consistent.
how do you want to feel about that?
There's a lot in here, I don't know. I'm reading some of the comments. Was your question, is this something we should come back to, or?
Well, my only concern is that the list of non-dwelling uses. We just wanna make sure that's in sync with, our definitions at least, and our. So I haven't seen fraternity anywhere in the ordinance, but it's here. We talk about psychiatry office, but I haven't seen that, maybe it's just professional office and we create some more general categories in the parking ordinance, knowing that our zoning will be flexible. So I'm not suggesting that we have to list every possible use here. I guess I'm suggesting the opposite, that, if it's a professional office, we can just state that in any type, whether it's a real estate or a architect or whatever, right? But the professional office can have a standard. If we can lump those, if you think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I would recommend that. This is kind of exquisite in its level of detail for types of uses. I think it would be a lot simpler to just come up with, like you said, a professional space, a commercial space, or retail space, entertainment, recreational activities. It could be one. Generally. We don't need to be distinguishing the difference, like you said, between an optometrist and a psychiatrist. Uh, but
So,
you,
I think it'd be fine to move it forward with putting that in your court to kind of generalize some of these. So that as the ordinances change and evolve, we don't have to constantly go back to the parking ordinance and update it.
Yes, I agree with that.
What does that mean? So move this forward and then go back to it later to,
Well, moving it forward with the direction for staff to create general buckets of categories of uses for prior to release to public comment.
so we would pass it and they'll modify it before it goes to public comment?
Right.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable, Brian?
sure.
You clean up, you reduce a lot of these into one professional services or something like that. And are you gonna also look at the spaces for each and update those as needed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll update those standards so that for hotel, generally by hotel, again, it's calculated by the number of sleeping units. Commercial spaces like a beauty shop or a cafe generally just go by square footage, or maybe by anticipated number of patrons. Like with a hairdresser, beauty shop kind of thing, you might say, well, we're going to have 3 beauticians on site, and they can realistically see one client at a time plus one in the waiting room. So, um, so that we could have certain types of services like that identified, but other things, generally for things like a bank or a club or a restaurant, you go by square footage, not by how many tables or how many. Um,
Yeah, there's no way our post office has 20 spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's my, where I'm looking at these things, bank, I think it said 30 spaces, and I know Zion Bank doesn't have 30 or,
none of the banks have, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, we would say, if the bank is going to be 1,200 square feet in size, then you're going to be required to provide, one parking space per 100 square feet or something like that.
Yeah,
With full-time employees or something.
and then you have some things like, at tavern here, it says 15 spaces, well, the Saddlebag, I think that's the only tavern we have, and maybe you got a bunch of shared spaces with those other commercial businesses there, they handle that. But-
same with the
Right,
liquor.
right. And that's also something that we can consider later as we start adding commercial subdivision review. We can say, look, are there reasonable ways that we can combine and share parking as opposed to making everybody put in the maximum number of parking? Like if you've got a movie theater next to that's open in the evenings next to a business that's open during the day, could the business during the day share parking with the movie theater? Because a lot of their clientele are not going to overlap a whole lot. Um,
Yeah, so I'd like
and
to, I think we are gonna come back to this soon, but for purposes of now, I think with these changes we discussed. Does anybody feel comfortable moving this on? I'm comfortable.
Yeah, with the direction that our planner adjusts this
Prior to the
section in particular, okay?
Ready?
Okay, so Commissioner Blickley will move that we pass chapter 108-8, parking and loading space, vehicular traffic and access regulations, while giving our planner the latitude to adjust section 108-8-4, parking space for non-dwelling buildings and uses with updated categories and spacing.
Also,
second.
consider residential.
We need to do residential.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and updating section 108-8-2, parking spaces for dwellings for the parking spaces.
Discussion? Any more,
I'll second.
against, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Alright.
moves on, now we're at motor vehicle
Did you get that, Commissioner Rory? Second.
108-9.
all right. This sets requirements for distances between driveways, um, motor vehicle access to businesses. We didn't change the language between service station or gas station. Um, Although it looks like Ron Gleason did, so. If you're on to answer Fred's question from last summer, if you're on a state route, the state has particular codes on how far apart your access points can be. Otherwise, there aren't really any standards um, provided by the state. National Traffic, the Association of American Traffic organizations or transportation organizations has standards on access, but these types of encouraging shared accesses and driveway spacing, um, the city engineer is going to apply all of those when he does his design review on application projects.
The current ones, you mean contemporary? Yeah, okay.
I would, under gasoline pumps, I would change street line and restate it as right of way under 108-9-3. We can insert that lighting must comply with the city outdoor lighting. I don't remember what number it is.
I don't think it has a number, they're just little dots. Oh, 108-16.
Lighting?
16. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
So I can clear that up. Tyson's added this language on exemptions for single-family residential driveways, agricultural uses. I think that's good clarifying language. Do you have any questions?
Mm-mm.
You
Okay.
agree with all that? Right?
Yep. Yeah, sorry. Tyson had added this since the last time I looked at it, so I appreciate the chance to browse through it really quick. But no, I think these are great.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to move 108-9 motor vehicle access forward for public comment.
Second,
Commissioner Blickley, seconds.
those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Okay, so now we are on 108-10, public buildings and public utility substation.
Which file was that again, Mitchell?
All right.
108-10.
Yeah, my team reviewed this a couple of weeks ago back at the beginning of March. I don't really have any concerns about it. I know we've talked about landscaping and screening standards for public utilities. The county has made a bunch of edits to this. We've got the requirements that they be architecturally similar to other developments within a master plan or development agreement area. Um, yeah, regarding this village area language, we don't really have, we don't currently have, um, village area. Well, no, there are still village areas depicted within the general plan. So we could leave that statement in there.
Okay, anything controversial, any sort of discussion?
No. Go this forward then?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer makes a motion to move 108-10, public buildings and public utility substations forward for public comment.
Second.
Commissioner Morgan seconds, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And we're on to 108-12, non-conforming structures, non-conforming uses, non-conforming lots.
All right, this is primarily language on how to define and reconcile uh, non-conforming uses and non-conforming lots. For example, if you have a non-conforming use or a non-conforming building, your maintenance, repair, and structural alterations don't nullify your ability to continue that use. We've had several public comments. For example, we had a lot of subdivisions made prior to 1998 with 1 acre lots, and then in '98 the valley rezoned everything to 3 acre lots. Well, those 1 acre lots that were created prior to that zoning change still have a right of use. Um, and so this is kind of how we manage those as a lot size that would be too small for the current rules, but it was created under a different set of rules, and we want to ensure that the property owners still have the right to enjoy a substantial use of their property similar to what their neighbors do. So we're not creating any new 1 acre lots, but we have quite a few um, that exist within the county. Um, Probably close to 500 or 600 of them were created prior to that 3 acre zone minimum lot change. So and now, if you're going to add to or enlarge the structure on a property, we've got some rules in place on how to do that. We're going to need to, that one slipped through. We're going to need to change that to Ogden Valley City under 1213. You can add to a non-conforming building as long as it stays within the setbacks. There are certain parking allowances.
That would be, for instance, if somebody has like a single story home and they want to make it a 2-story, they would still be allowed to do that.
But high standards of the first.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. They could, as long as they stay, well, adding a story. Hmm. Adding a story, the way I understand it, adding a story can be done as long as you remain within the same footprint. Um, so yeah, you could, I mean, realistically, uh, but but you wouldn't be able to demolish the original structure. You would have to just add the second story on top of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't move a non-complying structure. Um, if a non-complying structure is damaged or partially destroyed, it can be restored and restored as long as it's done within a year. If they wait longer than that, then they have given up that right of use, and that non-conforming use is extinguished. Similarly, if it's vacant or abandoned for more than a year, that use is extinguished.
What does that mean? So section 108-12-7, 1 year vacancy or abandonment. What's
Yeah,
the
that means
one?
if you have a non-conforming use, like for example, you've been operating a chinchilla farm, and now chinchilla farms are illegal or not permitted. If you stop operating your chinchilla farm and you abandon that use for 1 year, you cannot come back and say, "Well, I had a chinchilla farm before. I want to start a new chinchilla farm." Um, they can still use the property, but they can't use that non-permitted use anymore because by giving it up or abandoning it for a year, they waive the right to continue that use in the future.
It doesn't mean that somebody leaves their house for a year.
Can't sell it or something.
Yeah, yeah.
They,
If somebody was living in a building um that doesn't allow on a property that doesn't allow uh or is not proper for residential use, if they leave that property for a year, that's unlikely to happen, um because we don't have any non-conforming uses that restrict residential activities.
Gotcha.
But for example, if somebody was living in I guess for example, if somebody was living on a property that had been rezoned manufacturing, um, and they were there first, and it was a non-conforming use. If they left that home and did not live in it for a year, it sat vacant, then that residential use for that property could not be returned. Although, like Tyson said in his notes, vacancy is harder to enforce than a use abandonment. Um, so, if somebody wanted to come back and restart that use, um, it could be tricky if you cannot prove that. The burden would be on the city to prove um, that they were totally out and not living in it, and so that's one of the reasons why he added some of the language down there that the use has to have ceased for a continuous period of 1 year, and there's very clear evidence of its abandonment, and the city has to provide that evidence.
Okay,
So-
Board,
we're good.
Commissioner. Commissioner Blakely, motions to move chapter 108-12, non-compliant structures, non-conforming uses, and non-conforming lots forward for public hearing.
I'll second.
Commissioner Morgan, and then all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved, and we move on to 108-13, home occupations. Short-term vendors, is this one that we want to, do you think we can move through, or do you want to skip this? And prioritizing,
No, I would like to address this one.
okay,
And then the single family standards for single family dwellings, if we could.
great. Okay, take it away.
All right. So I think one of the ones that at least Lisa has asked me the most questions about is food trucks. Food trucks would fall under this short-term vendor code. So as you look through this, we want to make sure that we're keeping in mind that that's one of the new popular activities that we're getting a lot of interest in the valley in. So, what do you think about the prohibited uses for home occupations? Is there anything else in there that you worry about? Animal and veterinary clinic is one I think Lisa had mentioned that she wanted to allow as a home occupation. So we would want to take that off this list.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too.
I think at least in the ag and F3 zones, I'm pretty sure that that's listed as a use with some specific requirements on things like acreage and
Mhm.
parking and things like that. Let's see, business licenses, those are okay. We'll manage that through our business license system. The Weber County, they have a special box to check for folks who want to do a home occupation. So we've been reviewing those as they come in. And typically home occupation problems get enforced through city nuisance ordinances. Typically it's like, are we having problems with parking or traffic or smells or sounds? We can do our best to urge those businesses to um, meet certain standards of hours of operation and types of activities and stuff, but a
Where
lot of
is
it
it?
just gets
What's the teeth of that articulated in this or any other words?
yeah, so they're required to provide adequate off-street parking. Um, Lisa did insert the language about hazardous materials. Activities that would generate excess noise or odor, dust, or vibration. Um, her her statement compatibility with residential aesthetics. There's already a requirement that um, it has to retain the general character and appearance of a residential dwelling. So if we're talking about what it looks like, it's supposed to look like a home. And we already require
Yeah.
licensing. If it's a food truck or if it's a food truck, it's got to have a food permit. And if it's a um, You know, if they do something else that if they do anything that's licensed under the state of Utah, then they're required to have a license.
Erin, I'm curious about your comments here in the notes about changing the times of day, times of operation.
I didn't do that.
On page 3, home occupation shall not be open to the public at times earlier than it was 8 and is changed to 6.
I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, good. I mean, your cursor.
I was just looking at what it was. I was trying to see who made the comments.
Is Derek someone at your office? Brian?
Yeah, Derek's one of my team, and he changed it to I guess he changed it to match up with Mayor Wampler's comments there. So
So is what she says standard seems to be 6 a.m. What standard? Where is 6 to 10 a standard?
that's a good question. I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's as far as the daycare is concerned, I think there are a lot of, I mean, because of people's work schedules, most daycares open at 6 for drop off. And under certain circumstances, they can be open for shift workers
till 10.
till 10.
That kind of corresponds to the lighting. Time frame too, for.
And I would say Liz's comment about emergency, I don't think we want. I don't know, I don't think we want to address emergency. Traffic.
Oh, well, no, she meant if somebody, if somebody's dog got sick at 2 a.m, where are you going to take the dog? And if somebody was running a 24-hour animal clinic out of their house, would that be allowed? I think is what Lisa wants to know.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know that we want to get into making exceptions for just a specific use like that.
I mean, to me, that would be, I mean, to me, I don't think that would be an issue. It's not like you're gonna have 10 people showing up at the same time to drop off a dog at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? I mean, what are the odds of that happening?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a high. I don't think it's a risk of a high occurrence. I also don't think it's anything that would be a risk of a um, high level of disturbance to the neighborhood. The problem is it's risky to create a set of rules for one thing that doesn't apply to anything else. To say we want all home-based businesses closed at 10 except for vet clinics. That's
I would say
look,
not,
look,
and a home visit or something, right, or go pick up an.
There's a 24/7 clinic too, it's just a drive.
So yeah, I agree, I don't know that I want to make a specific exception, sometimes it's fine.
Agree.
Otherwise, anything else here?
Did you see my comment on the lighting?
Yes. Yeah, so Brian, there was specific lighting in there, but we should just delete that and reference the lighting ordinance, so just everything's consistent.
yeah, I agree with that. Where did that go?
I'm going dizzy scrolling.
Let's see. Temporary outdoor sales needs to comply with.
Yeah, page 3 for outdoor lighting.
Yeah. It also occurs on page 6.
That should say 108-16, not 18-16.
Thank you.
You forgot your 0.
Can I pause and ask y'all, I think we were talking about meeting till 5:30 on these early days, does that still work for, is that the plan today? I don't know. For you all? Prior to,
Okay, you guys can do.
what's that?
I do what Kathy does, I think we're good, we're here for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have dinner here too. Just checking. We do start at 6, so excuse me, Angela, we do start at 6, so you have to have a minute to.
We'll be gone by 5:30, I just want to make sure we're 15 minutes out. So,
Yes.
Okay.
Let's
Any
see.
other, thanks, Brian, do you wanna, any questions about it for us, or? No.
Nope. Let's see, short-term vendors. I did want to make sure everybody understood that state law allows food trucks to be licensed once. So if a food truck is licensed in Ogden City, it does not need to apply for a license in Ogden Valley City.
Okay.
It does have to display that it is licensed somewhere in the state of Utah. And they are technically required to declare which community or which zip code, at least, they are selling in for sales tax distribution purposes. I don't know how well that's enforced, but that's something that the tax commission has to enforce, not the city. Um, but I don't know if we need to put any of that in the code. Do you have any questions about short-term vendors or outdoor sales, farmers markets, anything like that?
No.
All right.
We're ready? Yeah.
Commissioner Shaver makes a motion to move forward 108-13, home occupation, short-term vendors, temporary outdoor sales, farmers markets, for public comment.
Commissioner Blakely seconds.
This is favor, passes. And 108-15, single family dwellings.
Okay, now we have looked at this one in the past. There are limits on design standards that can be applied to state or to single family homes under state law. And I think I sent an email out about it a while ago, but we can review those really quick. I mean, basically, state law prohibits municipalities from restricting color, materials, window number, size, and location, door number, size, and location, uh, number of rooms, uses of rooms. So, for example, the comments under here about getting rid of vinyl siding, that's not legal under state law. And unless you can make restrictions if they're located within a high-risk wildfire, wildland urban interface area. And so you can make certain exceptions for vinyl siding and for roofing. But vinyl siding you would still have to allow if the contractor can show that it meets a 1 hour burn rating. Because they're not concerned about, the smell or the toxins released by the burning vinyl. They're concerned about the safety of the structure. And so and vinyl does catch easily. And so if they can't show that the wall will have a 1 hour burn rating, you can prohibit the vinyl siding, and you can also require metal roofing. But those are the only instances where you can impose design standards or material standards.
So can you add, would it be under codes and standards that you add language regarding well then urban interface? Requirements or how to,
Yes.
write that?
Um, we can reference the state code that says that. Where are my track changes? Oh, is this all? Okay. Okay, you beat me to it.
Great.
All right.
Um,
Yeah, that's about all we can do on this one. Other than that, you know, you can require that it meet international residential code, and that's about it.
okay. On the question about 2x6 construction, which page is that on?
Two.
Page 2. I don't understand the need to specify that. I mean, we're going to require that it meets current building and energy codes. And we're requiring engineering and architectural design, all of those things that will then certify that it meets those codes. So I don't think we want to get into calling out specific material systems. There's a number of ways to achieve.
I would agree with that. As long as it's allowable under the residential building code.
Yeah.
I don't think the
Correct.
materials are that important.
Okay. Great. Anything else, others?
Chairman Bean. You open to taking questions from the audience?
Would now be time that we're in discussion.
I believe that's up to you.
I would love to hear it from the public.
Sorry, Blaine has.
Ladies, also, we talked about before, I mentioned before about SIPS construction being sometimes considered as manufactured housing. I think manufactured housing listed here, is SIP style structure insulated panel construction falling into that, or is it just going towards it is approved by the IBC, so it's okay?
It would be
IBS.
approved by IBC and engineering and media for following.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
I got it in there.
Appreciate it.
Okay, yes. Okay, any other comments, questions? No, motion?
Mr. Quigley makes a motion to advance chapter 108-15 standards for single family dwellings. Because headed to.
Okay, now second,
I'll second.
and all those in favor?
Alright,
Motion passes, thank you. Okay, with the remaining time, Brian, what do you want to focus on, drinking water, natural hazards?
Let's look at drinking water source protection. I think honestly that one's going to be pretty easy.
Okay,
I'd like to talk about the natural hazards, kind of in conjunction with sensitive lands overlay and hillsides and floodplains and all that good stuff. Because I think there's a lot of overlap between those three that we can discuss and that we can clear up. So,
Okay.
108-18.
yeah, 108-18.
All right.
This ordinance helps establish the rules for drinking water source protection zones, which are required by the state of Utah Division of Drinking Water. They're basically just buffer zones around wellheads and springs that are used to collect water for culinary use. And the cities are required to restrict uses within within kind of a growing buffer. Certain things are allowed at certain distances from that drinking water source. And so we talk about septic tanks, we talk about landfills, hazardous material storage and use, hazardous waste, animals. All of those things are you can see them under definitions. Um, and then the code establishes the different zones, and then we've got zones 1, 2, 3, and 4 that are based on set distances from that water source. And then within each of those different zones, specific uses are prohibited or allowed as defined below. This is all pretty boilerplate stuff from the state of Utah and the Division of Environment, or yeah, the State Department of Environmental Quality. This is all compliant with the state requirements, so I don't see there's nothing that really needs to go or be removed from it. The city is talking about city council is talking about putting together a technical committee on water quality. But they haven't established one yet, so there's some administration down at the very bottom that I think we need to modify to make sure that at least for now we have a policy in place that can address how these uses are enforced.
Okay, that's something you can prepare prior to release or. Public comment.
Yeah,
A couple of these definitions, the pollution source means point source discharges of contaminants. That should be, what's the definition of contaminants? It should be, certain hazardous substance, I would suggest.
Where,
Page 2, top of page 2, pollution source. Let's circle it.
What?
yeah,
The
we better define that.
environmental response,
Okay.
yeah, so
It's an environmental policy act term that describes hazardous materials.
Great.
hazardous substances,
Right. Thank you.
different than hazardous materials. And under hazardous waste, I would think we should define that as it's defined under RCRA, which defines hazardous waste. That's not the definition of a hazardous waste as it's listed there. So you can just Google RCRA hazardous waste and take you to the EPA webpage and where it's defined. Sorry, this is just stuff that I deal with all the time.
Awesome.
Solid waste that poses a substantial present or potential threat to human health or the environment when improperly managed. Does that sound all right to you, Fred?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I got that off the EPA website. So
It's still there.
we could clarify also that solid can mean liquid. It can be a liquid, solid, or contained gas.
Yeah, everything else looks good.
Move.
We're gonna make a motion.
Commissioner Blakely makes a motion to pass chapter 108-18, drinking water source protection as edited.
I'll second, Commissioner Schaefer seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. I'd like to skip EDUs until we have a full commission to discuss that. So, we decided we're gonna skip natural hazards. Do we feel like we have enough time to talk about subdivisions, Brian? Let's see if you wanna prioritize today.
So are we planning on staying till 5:30?
Or 5:10, I don't know, depending on how long it takes us to get through. Does that work for you, or do you
I
wanna?
think, oh yeah, I know, I just,
If we were to get one more in, what would be your,
do you want to talk about outdoor lighting, or was that another one you want to wait?
do we feel ready for that? You guys, reviewed it until,
That should be very.
feel good?
Yeah.
Alright, let's do outdoor lighting. So that is 108-16.
Although, okay, I have not, maybe we need to wait on this. I have not incorporated any of the standards out of the Castle Valley City
Okay,
Gotcha.
Okay.
let's circle
ordinance
back.
that you've talked about. So do you want to wait for me to make
Yeah.
those revisions, or? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Let's take a look at subdivisions then. We can at least start the conversation. So that's going to be under
General,
General Land Use Administration. Really, the only comments I've received about this so far are the concerns about ensuring that we've got the necessary water commitments before approving subdivisions. So making sure that not only do we have a letter from a company that says, yeah, sure, we'll provide the water, but we have proof that the water is in hand and not in some sort of negotiation or trade that has not been finalized.
Is this, excuse me, is this 108-3?
This is 106-1. So you need to back out of the design standard folder, go to the Planning Commission
Perhaps the general land
PC
use.
draft ordinances, and then go to General Land Use Administration.
Got it, thank you.
Yep. So my staff and I have made some changes on those water requirements. Septic intensity is another thing that we need to look at. I believe we have a requirement in there that if a proposed development is within a certain number of feet from an existing sewer line, then we need to get a letter from the sewer company saying they will not serve it before we allow septic systems.
It's 106. That's under general land use administration, general land use, so. Yeah, should PC draft. And then general land use administration.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate your staff has, kind of answered a lot of our questions on this that we.
Yeah, Elizabeth's on my team, so.
I had a question about minor subdivisions.
Yeah.
why they would have such lenient requirements versus larger subdivisions, because I could see games being played with, I'm just going to put in 10 4-lot subdivisions to get around some of these things, is that? Can you talk about
Um,
one?
I mean, typically most communities have simpler requirements for subdivisions of number fewer than 10. Just because they don't want to place unreasonable burdens on a property owner who simply wants to subdivide a few parcels off for family or something like that. Um,
But which of these would be too onerous for someone to do?
requirement for them to um, uh, the requirement that they have to be on a public water system instead of a well or a public sewer system instead of septic. Um, Now there are cities that do require, and I was wrong, we had not included that language, but we could include language that says if the development is within 200 feet or 500 feet or something, some figure like that of an existing public water and sewer provider, then they need to request permission to hook into that system, or they need a written denial of service from that water or sewer provider before they will be allowed to pursue a well um, or a septic system. Although that's challenging because the the city doesn't have any power to regulate who can apply for a well or who can apply for a septic tank. Those are managed by the health department in the case of septic systems, and the state of Utah, um, Division of Water Rights in terms of wells. You can apply for one single, personal use well to the state of Utah, um, without any sort of acknowledgement or requirement from.
And a private utility might not want other connections for some
Right,
reason.
right, and that's true. The Wolf Creek Water and Sewer, for example, may say, no, we're not going to serve your minor subdivision, um, because we don't want to, and they can do that, in which case the city can't force them to take on that. That's kind of the other challenge. In most cases, the city is the water or sewer provider, and they can require that the new development hook into their system. But where in this case, the city doesn't provide those services, um, we can't require the water or sewer company to serve if they don't want to.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What we can do is require that subdivisions larger than a certain size, and maybe it's larger than 2 lots. Maybe a minor subdivision is only 2 lots, but in this case, it's been 4 in Weber County. A minor subdivision of that size is not required to provide their own water system wide or hook into an existing system. But anything bigger than that, the city says, look, if you want to come in with a subdivision of more than 4 units, um, you've got to make it a shared water system or hook into an existing shared water system. But the question of minor subdivision, I've seen them anywhere between 3 or 4 and 10 lots. But the idea is just simply to let a small property owner or small neighborhood scale developer do a small project without having to make all of the same infrastructure investments that would be necessary for a larger subdivision.
Okay, I have a question also on page 19 about connectivity incentivized subdivision flats, increased density. I'm not sure why we would do this. I mean, nobody else, because there's a road in front of the house, they don't get to count the road for density. I'm not sure why we would allow it in a subdivision.
Sure, that was Weber County has that rule in place. The idea is to incentivize network connectivity within the community, so that you don't end up with just a bunch of cul-de-sac dead ends that are hard to plow, hard to maintain, hard to provide emergency services to. Um, and in order to incentivize that, they offered a density bonus. If you don't feel like that meets your uh,
I mean, is this something that's subjective that the planners can say, yes, this is enough of an incentive for us to approve, or is it just a given if they connect roads that they will be given a density right off the bat? Like, is there any say in the density credit?
um, I'm sure the county has a definition of what that connectivity level must be in order to receive the credit. It's not in their land use ordinance. It's probably in a transportation policy or plan that we'll have to look up, and we could copy that or mimic that for the city if you want to provide that sort of an incentive. I know density is not increasing density or increasing the total number of developable units in the community is not a highly desirable uh, activity at the moment. So maybe we need to more further define, excuse me, where that density would come from, maybe in terms of transfer of development rights or some other concession. Um,
Yeah, until that's fleshed out, I'm not keen on increasing density at this time. Maybe it's something discussed another quarter. You could provide further clarification on that or recommendations on how to create incentives that. Yeah, increase density. I'm not sure what else would incentivize anyone, but
yeah.
I mean, is there any way that we have a say over the transportation proposals that come through and just kind of require that they do connect to a kind of transportation master plan?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
And the city council has received a grant that they intend to use to develop a new transportation master plan. We have one that the county created, excuse me, a number of years ago. But we'll want to review that. That's something that the planning commission is probably going to want to do soon after we get these land use ordinances squared away for now. And yeah, look at those standards because that will contain standards like street widths and right of way requirements and yeah, what these connectivity standards ought to be. And if you want to just say, look, we want to maintain, a high level of connectivity. So we want, grids, or we want, um, we want connections from all 4 points of the compass into your subdivision. We don't want just one road going in and one road going out. Um,
Yeah, I think I'd replace this with what you just mentioned, something that,
and if we don't want to offer a density bonus, we can just strike all of that out for now.
how do you all feel about that?
I'm fine.
Otherwise, I don't have. We were referencing our outdoor lighting, is that?
Other than that, a lot of this is just, the requirements of documents that need to be in place before we allow subdivisions. It sets the process for how we establish and record the final plats, how we go about making adjustments to a subdivision. If we determine later on that, oops, we should have put a property line, um, a little further in one direction to meet requirements, we can go back and adjust those through amendments. We can also deal with um, just individual lot line adjustments for property owners. I've had a couple of requests on those where, the surveyed subdivided line on a map doesn't reflect the reality on the ground, like where the fence that they've used to separate the properties for 50 years is, and so um, if the property owners want to agree to adjust that boundary officially on a plat, that has to go through the planning commission's approval and before it can go to the county recorder. So we've got our subdivision standards where we talk about street configuration and circulation. Um, Looks like Tyson's done some work on alternative street alignments to reduce environmental disturbance. We've got our section on street connectivity and circulation. Um,
So how do you feel about this whole chapter? Right,
I mean, I think we're in a pretty good place. Some of these changes that Tyson's recommended in the last week or so are valuable. Um, okay, so here are the connectivity incentivized subdivision standards down under 106-2-1.02 on page 26, 27. We can, and we'll need to, we still got some changes in here to make to get rid of the zones that aren't allowed. But you can make some changes to minimum lot area and width. So these are some fairly substantial changes that are allowed, reducing the minimum lot size by half in some cases in the AV3 and FV3.
That's increasing density that we're not.
That is increasing density, yeah. So
Maybe we need to revisit this. You could come back to us with those corrections.
yep. Yeah, let me come back to you with some of those modifications. We've got some examples of what streets should look like. Street standard requirements.
I think we should bookmark that to come back to in the future after looking at 4100 today. With how the drainage swale really failed. That's a new stretch, you know that road, Brian. That'll be something in the future we'll come back to with a better design standard for new streets.
When did that happen?
Right.
Just the last week.
Fall weekend, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one that we can take some time on. Our real pressure right now is to get our single family home permit application process going again. We will have subdivision applications, I guarantee. In fact, we probably have a couple coming that are under master development agreements in the next month or so. But those standards are outlined in the master development agreement, so we don't need an ordinance in place to deal with those. So,
Well, so thank you for class 5. We better wrap it up. So
Like one more, the street grades percentages on page 48, those seem pretty high. To me, 12%, private streets, 15%. I mean,
yeah,
that's like Powder Mountain. I think that might be 18% in some places, but that seems kind of high to
Yeah,
me,
I
right?
agree.
I mean,
Usually see those warning signs of like 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, you've got some neighborhoods with steep roads. The alternative to that, however, is less steep roads but more of them. If a steeper road can get you into the terrain, it can reduce that construction impact on the hillside. Whereas if you're requiring a more shallow slope, it just means you're requiring more road to serve the same area. But on the flip side, the steeper roads have higher runoff speeds. They have higher, downhill travel speeds. They're harder to plow. They're harder to get emergency vehicles up to. So yeah, we can reevaluate some of those standards and provide you with some options.
Yeah, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make, Mr. Trigger, make a motion to adjourn.
More seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's everybody.
Hey, great work, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.